I'm sure you've had that feeling before. The strange sensation of being watched when you walk into a place, or even just while strolling down the street. It's as if the whole world suddenly goes silent and every gaze turns toward you. You feel scanned from head to toe, with no shame, no discretion. Sometimes it's just our paranoia, but other times, like in this 1886 painting, it feels real. Picture this. You step into a tavern in Rome. You don't know a soul, yet suddenly 3 people fix their eyes on you. Their expressions are so different you can't decide whether to laugh, feel uneasy, or run for the door. And to make matters worse, even a cat stares at you from the floor. The man twists his head toward you, his face loaded with hostility, anger, as if you've just interrupted his talk with the 2 women. One of them meets your eyes with a hint of flirtation as she sips her wine. The other, however, looks at you with scorn, almost mocking you. What could we possibly have done to deserve such a reaction from 3 strangers? And how is it that a single painting can make us feel this uncomfortable? The painting we are looking at is in a Roman Osteria, created in 1866 by Carl Bloch, a Danish artist you might already recognize. Just a few months ago, we analyzed another one of his works here on the channel, The Mocking of Christ. It came as a great surprise to many because in that scene, Christ, surrounded by mockery and suffering, stares directly at the viewer, breaking the 4th wall. Today, we encounter that very same device once again, but this time in a completely different setting. In the 19th century, like many other Nordic artists, Carl Bloch traveled to Italy in search of inspiration. Rome was a magnet for painters and sculptors. Not only did they find the grandeur of classical ruins, but also the vibrant local color of everyday life. And for an artist devoted to genre painting, Roman taverns were the perfect stage, noisy, full of gestures, overflowing with wine, and populated by the peculiar characters you'd expect to see in any city. The reason this particular painting came to life was thanks to Bloch's friend Moritz Melchior. He was a wealthy Danish merchant who accompanied Bloch on this trip and wanted to take home a picturesque souvenir to hang on his wall. Melchior asked Bloch to create a painting inspired by another work he admired, Italian Osteria scene by Wilhelm Marstrand, who happened to be none other than Bloch's teacher in Copenhagen. In a way, Melchior was commissioning Bloch to produce a tribute to his own master. What came out of this, however, was much more than a simple travel keepsake. Bloch took Marstrand's idea and transformed it into something entirely his own. Where his teacher had painted a cheerful, almost innocent tavern scene, Bloch injected tension, humor, and an extraordinary sense of discomfort that lingers with the viewer. The first thing we wonder when looking at this painting is what exactly is that strange headscarf worn by the woman in the center? Let me tell you, it's not just some improvised accessory, and definitely not a napkin as I've seen suggested here and there. It's actually a very revealing detail that helps us better understand this entire scene. In 19th century Rome, this kind of cloth was known as a pannus or fazzolettone, and it was typically worn by married women, though widows also used it. It was part of traditional dress, and Bloch painted it with extraordinary precision. Notice how it appears smooth and immaculate, not a single wrinkle out of place, carefully arranged as if the woman had taken care to present herself elegantly at the tavern. She also wears a long skirt, a red blouse with golden embroidery, a lace shawl, and jewelry gleaming on her neck, ears, and fingers. All of this points toward her being a married woman who clearly doesn't want strangers intruding at her table. That's why she looks back at us with such contempt. Next to her sits the young woman holding a glass of wine, and here the mood shifts. Her smile is subtle, even a touch flirtatious. She meets our gaze directly, almost as if she were quietly inviting us to join them. Across from them, seated at the table, is the man, and this is where the tension peaks. He looks at us with a deep frown, as though our presence is entirely unwelcome. His body language radiates discomfort. One hand grips his fork tightly, and from his pocket a knife protrudes. That mixture of anger and suspicion makes his stare the most intimidating of all. And just when you think you've seen it all, the most unexpected figure appears, the cat. Sitting calmly beside the woman with the headscarf, it watches us with the same intensity as the humans. Its expression feels almost judgmental, as if it too disapproved of our presence. But the painting doesn't end there. In the background of the tavern, we find 3 more figures I haven't mentioned yet, and they also play a role in this curious interaction. Hidden among the shadows, at a second table, Carl Bloch painted himself into the scene. The artist is seated quietly, as if he was simply a witness to the entire exchange, and he's not alone. Next to him sits his friend and patron, Moritz Melchior, the very man who commissioned this work. While we, the viewers, suffer the uncomfortable stares from the main table, Bloch and Melchior seem to enjoy their wine in peace, completely unbothered by the tension unfolding at the center of the painting. More than 150 years after this painting was created, it still has the power to make us feel uncomfortable, and it does so because Bloch pulls us into a situation we don't want to be in. He places us at a table where we are clearly not welcome. We could imagine 1,000 theories. Perhaps the married woman with the white headscarf is sitting beside her husband. Perhaps the man glares at us with hatred because we've just interrupted and even flirted with them. Or perhaps the young woman with the mischievous smile isn't a stranger at all, but the younger sister of the married woman. It's a world open to interpretation, and that is where the genius lies. The only thing we truly know is that we feel watched, and that effect, so difficult to achieve in painting, Bloch delivers with brutal realism. From the fly and the bee hovering over the wine, to the tiny insects crawling on the tablecloth feasting on spilled sugar, to the cat's disapproving face that seems to judge us. These subtle details make us feel as though we are inside the scene, yet at the same time, they remind us that we do not belong there. I'd really love to read your interpretation of this painting in the comments. It will be fun to see how each of us notices something different in it. And of course, if you'd like to have this painting in your home, it's already available in our catalogue. The video you're watching right now is just one example of how you can decorate your space with our reproductions. On our website, you'll find more than 700 paintings available, so you can start your own collection and turn your home into a personal gallery. Worldwide shipping is free, and every purchase directly supports me so I can keep creating videos like this one. I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.